What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports MLB Swing for the Fences show. I'm your host, Mangone. I'm here with DraftKings. I'm here with JT Hayes, and we got DC going to Coors Field on a Friday night. So, DC, we're going to kick it off with you first. How is it going over there, and how excited are you for some baseball tonight?
Excited, man. Always excited on Friday night. We've got the best holiday, in my opinion, 4th of July coming up this weekend. So, looking forward to that. Looking forward to the slate. And, yeah, I'm probably not the only one going to the baseball game, right? JT Hayes, don't you normally go to what is it, Truist Field in Atlanta on Fridays?
Usually my Friday ticket pack, yes, but I had tickets last night. Went to see Jake up close.
Oh yeah, I did see that on Twitter. Yeah, but that was fun.
Yeah, so great seats for that last night. I'm going to give away my tickets tonight to see the Marlins. Definitely a good game last night. We had a rowdy crowd. Didn't expect to see Jacob deGrom giving up runs in the first inning, but then he came back and struck out. I think it was 14. So pretty wild.
Yeah, I was pretty excited about that. There are still people in 2021 fading Jacob deGrom in head-to-head. So it's been good times over here. I enjoyed it a ton last night watching deGrom just throw strikeout after strikeout. Yeah. It was a fun time, even though it was scary at first. DC, were you worried he was going to get pulled from the game early last night?
No. I mean, you could tell like his stuff was still the same. I mean, the dude's just incredible, just painting at like 101 miles per hour and is throwing that like slider, 6 inches away from that on the outside corner, just pitch after pitch after pitch. And it's just, man, the combination of the stuff and the command of the stuff is just like anything we've never seen before, in my opinion, in baseball. So I'm sure that was fun to watch up close. I'm jealous of you, JT. And it's just, you got to appreciate these guys, right? I know we're playing DFS for money and all that stuff, but you got to appreciate the athletes, deGrom, Shohei Ohtani, Tatis, Acuna, Vladdy. Man, what a time for baseball. So I love it. And excited to get to this Friday slate.
Yeah, you forgot to add in our boy Gavin Sheets, DC. I mean, I know he's young, but come on, let's throw him in the mix, right?
I was going to add Charlie Morton in there too if JT wasn't on the show, but I omitted it this time.
JT would definitely not allow that one. JT, how was your weekend? And JT, how do you spend the 4th of July? I think that people want to know how many beers you're throwing back. What's the party? What's the spread? I think everyone wants to know how JT spends the 4th.
Yeah, so we've got it's my nephew's birthday was this week, and so we're going out to dinner for him tonight, and then the rest of the weekend will be just baseball, hanging out, relaxing, hopefully, and hopefully picking some winners here.
All right, well, we'll be picking those winners for you guys. Speaking of winners, man, there have been tons and tons of winners over at Run Pure Sports. Even though people say the members never win, they were winning last night. One guy who is a coordinator, BigT, he ended up taking home $35,000 last night in the showdown. Yes, he captained Brooke Lopez. Brooke Lopez was the leading scorer for the Milwaukee Bucks yesterday. Crazy things are happening over there in Milwaukee, and Brooke Lopez absolutely dominated for BigT in the captain spot, helped him take home $35,000. We also had other members in the NBA Baller. Jay Olsen, 36, took home $12,000. And then we had some tennis winners as well. Gators 070 in tennis. He took home $11,000. And then we had another one. Kevin Ryder took home $7,500 in tennis. Those are on separate days. So at Run Pure Sports, you don't just get MLB winners. You don't get an NBA winner separately. You don't get tennis winners separately. It's all under one price for $80 a month. Use the code RPSHeater25 to get 25% off. DC, there's no better offer than the stuff we got going on at Run Pure Sports right now. Am I right?
I agree with you. I think that's very clear. The best offer on earth over at runpuresports.com. So if you haven't used it, I don't know what you're waiting for. Join the movement, get in the Discord, have a good time, and make some money as well, right? I think you can do it all. So hopefully any of you watching this, join the show. Will join us over at RPS.
Yeah, and JT, it's not just winners over here, right? We have fun too in the Discord chat, right? You're in the Discord, having some laughs in the morning. So tell people a little about the Discord chat and all the good times in that baseball Discord we got.
Yeah, I mean, one of our mainstays in the Discord, I guess it's a sad day. It's a sad day because Jermaine got demoted, and he got demoted in the major leagues. Looks like he got demoted in Discord. So he hasn't been around. We had Squid, who was flirting with his boss all day long over text. That was pretty entertaining to see today. And Then the guys will jump in throughout the day. DC will jump in and talk pitching and talk stacks, and he's excited to see the Rockies and the Cardinals tonight. I'm excited to see what he thinks about that. And it's good times. It's good times. It's a meme and GIF fest all day long.
Oh yeah, love posting the GIFs in the chat. It's always a good time. And I missed what happened to our boy Yermin, but he's in Miami, so I have no idea what's going on with him. That's why he's probably been a little MIA there, JT. But there's lots of good times. The kid is posting GIFs. We're making fun of Title and his Bucks until they start winning, which we can't poke fun at him yet. So we got to hope the Hawks win the next game so we can make fun of Title. But it's fun times over at Run Pure Sports. Again, use that code RPS here 25 to get 25% off. But let's dive in. Let's talk about this slate. You guys are already doing a great job with the likes. We got 100. We're at 309 watching. I'll give you guys credit for that. Those 4 who gave the dislikes, there were 2 before we even got here. So that guy, we know he was hitting those burner accounts. Don't hit those dislikes. Hit those likes for us. DC, while they're all doing that, I want you to break down this slate because I think it's a really interesting one. I think it's just, hey, play Coors Field and move on. But the problem is, I think a lot of people want to do that.
Yeah. What do we have? A 12.5 total at Coors Field. 2 of the worst pitchers on the slate. Even if you took Coors Field out of the equation and Gigi Gonzalez and Oviedo for the Cardinals, I actually think Oviedo is better, maybe a little bit better than, people give him credit for, but not a good pitcher at this point in his career. 2 bad bullpens, right? St. Louis bullpen been among the worst in baseball. Colorado, same thing there. So, yeah, I would expect a lot of runs there. I know that game kind of disappointed last night. Sometimes you see that the first game back at Coors, but typically the series kind of heats up. It's, nice and warm here in Colorado today. So I do expect a lot of runs there. I'm hoping so because I'm going to the game and, I'll obviously be stacking it up. I won't try to hide that at all. But there are other good spots, right? It's a 14-game slate. It's not like that's the only place that there's going to be offense tonight. And still, if you had to, right, if you're going to take, will there be more games at Coors Field or in any other game? You would certainly easily take the field in that one. So there are plenty of other ways other directions to go if you want to do that. And yeah, pitching I think is a little bit interesting. The top end looks, frankly, to me, good, not great for some of these guys. I don't love Max Scherzer's matchup against the Dodgers. Lance Lynn, better matchup against the Tigers, but he hasn't been quite as good recently. So I think there's a lot to talk about with pitching stacks, all the game theory stuff that we like to go over. Just a fun slate. Usually we have good ones on Friday night. I don't think that's any exception today. I don't really see too much weather that we have to worry about. Maybe that first game of the night with the Yankees, but even that one I think is going to play. So excited for this good night of baseball here.
All right, JT Hayes, I'll go over to you. Talk about the pitchers at the top. Break it down for me. What do you want to do here? I mean, Max Scherzer, Lance Lynn, Lance McCullers, Julio Urias. We got some names at the top. So it's not the worst pitching slate, but the problem is some of these matchups are not the easiest. So how are you handling the top end arms?
Yeah, it's tough. And we've seen all week this week, right? And really the last, 10 days, where these high-end pitchers are really more hit and miss. It's almost like the beginning of the season again. Looked like DeGrom was going the wrong way last night as well, but he rebounded pretty quickly. Look, I think at the top, it's probably Max Scherzer is the guy that I would play. It is a scary matchup against the Dodgers, and I'm not sure I'm going to end up on Max. Yeah. But you look at McCullers and the matchup with Detroit. Detroit has not been quite as bad as they have been.
Lance Lynn facing Detroit. Just a mistake.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking McCullers in Cleveland, right? Yep. McCullers in Cleveland. The thing from McCullers is a length perspective. We've seen how beat up this Astros bullpen is. So they could technically lean on McCullers, but you've got some lefties there. And even some righties he's been giving up some hard hits to. Lance Lynn just does not look the same. He's having obvious issues without the things that they used to use to grip the ball there. And I'm just going to fully fade Julio Urias. There's actually the way the Nationals have been hitting the ball against left-handed pitchers. There are some things to like in this lineup. I don't know. I guess Trey may be out again. I'm not sure if that lineup's come out, but Zimmerman, Gomes, even Juan Soto in this matchup are guys that I'm interested in. And then there's some guys down at the low end. I think it's going to be very cold in that game in Oakland. The A's haven't been hitting all that well of late against left-handed pitching, and Eduardo Rodriguez has done quite a bit better. Arizona's not striking out as much against left-handed pitching, and they put up a good game last night. but you would expect to see Alex Wood bounce back. And then Kyle Gibson in Seattle. I mean, Seattle's been better, but I don't think it's a terrible matchup. And then one other guy that kind of jumped out to me when I first did my look through the pitching and went back a second time was perhaps Jordan Montgomery against the Mets. Mets haven't been very good against left-handed pitching at all. Their strikeout numbers are way up. And Montgomery, I mean, we saw what Max Fried did to them a couple of nights ago. I think Montgomery is equally capable of doing that here at a low price in a game that I think a lot of people will avoid.
All right. That's a lot of pitchers there that you talked about, JT. And again, not a lot of them stick out to me today, right? Like, I know, DC, you've been on Alex Wood, right? Is he maybe a guy that you can go to? That's someone I consider, because I looked across the way. I said, who's Alex Wood going against? That's Arizona. You can pitch anyone against Arizona these days. So are you going to him? Are you maybe going up top to a Max Scherzer and just trying to, get the highest floor that you can? How are you breaking down the pitchers here, DC?
Yeah, to me, this is a day. I'm glad to hear JT Hayes on it seems like kind of the same page. We're not always on the same page when it comes to every pitcher, but it seems like today we're both kind of on the same page. We're like, I don't know if I want to spend all the way up at pitcher. I'd kind of rather grab the high-end bats, or high-end stack at each position, build his best lineup, a hitting lineup as I can, because I do think there are very, very viable cheaper pitchers. Alex Wood would certainly be one. I know the results – in 3 of the last 5 starts have not been great. I do expect him to pitch well going forward. A lot of Arizona's kind of better hitters swing from the left side. Josh Rojas leading off for them tonight. And then 6, 7, 8, you got 3 lefties in a row: Pavin Smith, Stephen Vogt, Nick Heath. Never heard of Nick Heath before. I think Alex Wood can roll here potentially. I would like it maybe even a little bit more if he was in San Francisco, but I expect him to pitch well. But he's not even really on my short list. I've got 2 guys that I really want to roster tonight, and they'll be on most of my teams. That's Kyle Gibson going against Seattle. We've been on him all year long, and he's been a great value almost every start, whether he's in a good matchup or a bad matchup. And the thing is, he's had a pretty tough schedule. I talked about this on the pod earlier today with Gary USC, a coordinator in our chat. Look at who he's faced. He's faced the Astros 3 times. I mean, even his last starts, like Royals, Oakland, at Houston, San Francisco, Rays, Houston, San Francisco again, at Minnesota, Boston, Chicago White Sox. It's been a tough schedule for Gibson, and he's produced start in and start out despite of it. And then you throw in the big kicker for me. He finally got a better matchup in his last start against the Royals, and he dominated in that start. What do you have, 36 or 38 DraftKings points, 10 strikeouts? If you look at the metrics, a 21% first pitch, or a swinging strike rate rather, which is by far his highest mark on the year. Gibson is rolling right now. Now he goes into Seattle, a great strikeout park, a weak lineup. So, yeah, I love Kyle Gibson. And then his opponent in that game, Logan Gilbert, called up earlier this year, struggled first 2, 3, maybe 4 starts out of the gate. No longer for Logan Gilbert. This guy has figured it out. There's little question in my mind right now that he's figured it out. If you look at his game log, you see 9.9 fantasy points in his last start. It's because the game got called after 2 innings against the White Sox. He had 3 strikeouts, just 1 hit over 2 innings, 0 earned runs. Before that, against Tampa, Cleveland, LA Angels, we're seeing a lot of strikeouts, very few walks. The metrics all support it. He's thrown gas. He's thrown by far the hardest that he had thrown all year in his last start against the White Sox at home on Friday night in Seattle against a bad Rangers lineup. I think Logan Gilbert is going to crush in this matchup. I think Gibson's going to match it, and I think we're going to see a pitcher's duel out in Seattle tonight between Gibson and Gilbert. So that's where I'm going on most, if not all, of my lineups. And then you play those 2 guys, you can roster any hitters you want, right? You can pretty much take the best hitter at almost every position. Fun build. And, if you're chasing down a tournament, you got 2 of the very latest pitchers on the slate. That's a fun way to go too. So even just from a fun perspective, I think it's a good way to go. So yeah, Gilbert and Gibson, the 2 guys that I'm rolling with tonight.
Or if you're going to Coors Field for the game, you can stack up all those Rockies and Cardinals, right, DC? So
you can have them all, the whole game if you want. Yep.
JT, I'll go over to you. So DC sees a pitcher's duel for Gibson and Logan Gilbert. I think you could see a pitcher's duel for Eduardo Rodriguez and Frankie Montas. So what do you think of those two games and those two pitchers? Because I think those are guys that we can definitely be looking to roster on our teams. And who are some other mid-tier guys you're looking at?
Yeah, I think the path that you talk about there, it's going to be cold in Oakland. It's a big park. We've seen that when the weather cools, like it has been this week, honestly. We saw good performances from both pitchers a couple of nights ago. During the day, it plays a little bit smaller. I like Gibson tonight a bit. Man, Logan Gilbert, this Texas team is not striking out nearly as much as they were.
They are improving. I'll I don't know, like admit or not admit, but give you that one, right? It's not as good of a matchup as it was, a couple months ago.
Yeah, and so to me, it's more of a price play at 6-6. It's like you're going to take some savings, but I got to be honest. Joey Gallo may be, outside of Kyle Schwarber, the hottest hitter in baseball right now. I think he hit a home run, at least one, in every game of that Oakland series. Nate Lowe, I think, hit 2 yesterday. He's starting to hit better. I kind of like the Texas side here a little bit, and it's not like you can't play Logan Gilbert. What we've seen from pitching scores, it's you're looking for 20 points, and at 6-6, if he gets you to 15, that's fine. So I don't hate it. I just think that the way these Texas guys are swinging the bat lately, it gives me a little bit of concern. His better games have been on the road. But I do like the matchup. I'm not sure if I'm going to play Montas. Montas' price is very nice, but it's against a very dangerous Red Sox.
And you really want to go against Boston right now?
No. But that's exactly because Boston is one of the hottest teams in baseball. Yeah. And, DC, usually you and I agree when Charlie Morton is not on the slate. That's when it's spot. We're going to be on the right side of things. But I think I kind of all right. Cesar Martinez says it's super hot in Oakland. Weather I see says it's supposed to be about 60 degrees.
Google tells you differently.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Let me push back just a little bit. Not push back. I acknowledge this matchup. Like, I am worried about Joey Gallo too, and Nate Lowe to some extent. Like, if you're not playing Logan Gilbert in your lineup, I would suggest playing Joey Gallo. Like, I am also worried about that matchup for Gilbert. So I do want to just express or, show that this is not really a matchup play for me for Gilbert. Like, I really do think Gilbert has figured it out. I really expect him to pitch well, not only in this game, but in games to come, right? I think he is a pitcher on the rise right now. He was a top prospect, just couldn't quite figure it out when he came up. If you look at what he's doing now and some of the metrics behind it, he's a beast. He's throwing 95, 96. And, to get of a nerd stat here, he's number 2 in all of baseball in release extension, which means he releases the ball closer to home plate than all but one pitcher. I think Tyler Glasnow is number 1. So he's a unique pitcher. I really do think Logan Gilbert is a pitcher to watch. And at home at 6,600 against Texas, I think this will be the cheapest you get Logan Gilbert for the rest of the season. This sounds extreme, but I wouldn't be at all shocked if Logan Gilbert was the top scoring pitcher on this slate, to be honest.
Yeah. JT Hayes, I see you having some fun in the chat. It's hot in Oakland, but it's going to stay the same temperature apparently, according to the chat.
I guess. And what's even funnier than that, I love our guys here, right? Because they can't wait to nitpick anything that any one of us says, right?
Oh, yeah.
I got you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, motherfuckers. I just said that stadium plays much smaller during the day, right? If that game was now, then I would be more concerned because it's daytime.
It's not just the temperature either. I'm with you here. Yeah.
That game is going to start at night when the sun goes down. Isn't that what happens at night? I love you guys, though. I do.
Well, JT's having some fun with the chat. We're having fun with you guys, and we appreciate the likes. We appreciate the subscribes to the channel. You can check out all the content that we have on our channel. We got best ball videos for you. We got MMA next week, right, DC? Talk about the MMA video because we got a big card coming up, right? This is a McGregor card. This is definitely a show that you're going to have to watch coming up on Saturday. Am I right?
Yeah, McGregor Poirier 3 a week from tomorrow. going to be a fantastic card. Tons of good fights there. So it'll be me, Title Town, and Joey Work breaking that one down next Saturday at 11 Eastern time. I know all you guys watching are marking your calendars and have your lives all perfectly sorted. You'll be, canceling any events that you have next Saturday morning for that MMA show. But yeah, check it out. It's good stuff. And I guess that's it.
Check that out. Check out the best ball videos and check out the MLB shows that we have almost every single day, all week long, right? So don't miss out on that over here at Run Pure Sports. Again, use that code RPS Heater 25 to get 25% off your first payment. DC, I'll go back to you. I heard JT talk about Jordan Montgomery a little bit, which that Mets lineup isn't the best. I saw some projections liking JT Brubaker, and I don't get that one. That's one I just kind of scratched my head a little bit, but it is a really good ballpark, right? It's Milwaukee, so maybe you can make it work, but I kind of agree with you. I think the Gilbert idea is not bad. You also brought up release extension, which I know Big T is not a stats guy, but that sounds like a workbench approved kind of stats. So talk to me about some of these other cheaper arms besides Gilbert. Give me the reasons to play them and to not play them.
Yeah, so I do like this little tier of three guys: Eduardo Rodriguez, Jordan Montgomery, JT Brubaker from 7,400 to 7K on DraftKings pricing. Brubaker, I mean, it's expected to be somewhat of a pitcher's duel in Pittsburgh as well. Obviously, a tough place to hit in general. Brubaker has been good. It's just my main problem with him. One, Milwaukee is starting to hit, right? I think most of their bats are kind of heating up a little bit. And two, it's just the pitch counts. I mean, you're looking, max of 90. Sometimes he gets pulled after 71 pitches and he's pitching well after 6 innings. It's just very frustrating. But I do think he's a good young pitcher. And at 7K, listen, if I didn't like Gibson and Gilbert so much, I would be on these guys. Brubaker, Montgomery against the Mets at home, assuming the weather looks okay at Yankee Stadium. And then, Eduardo Rodriguez, been a tough year for him so far, but he's still a high strikeout guy. I think he's been really, really unlucky. He has been really, really unlucky so far in terms of the batted ball data and all that. So, Eduardo, 7,400 going into Oakland, which is a good place to pitch. I have no problem with that either. So there are a lot of good pitching options, and for me, this is a slate where I'm taking the bats and I'll pass on the high end pitching. I know a lot of people will go there anyway, because people always go to high end pitching, no matter who it is, right? Every slate, the masses kind of go there. To me, I really do think the best strategy, even in cash games, I would be playing Gibson and Gilbert combination. I think that is still the way to go. So that's my take on it. And I don't know. We'll see. I'm not saying Max or Urias or Lynn are going to have bad games. I just think the cheaper pitchers on this slate can easily match those guys or get very close to it anyway. So that's my take on pitching today.
All right, that's your take on pitching. I will say this: you said it's a good pitching slate, right, DC? But my argument is, if you look at the top, it's not that good at the top, but the bottom and mid tier is not bad, right? And I think sometimes it's the gap between what the pitchers are, right? Between the top end versus the bottom, it seems like the gap is a lot smaller today than other days. Wouldn't you agree?
100% agree. This will sound crazy, but I think it's kind of close who will score more fantasy points between Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson tonight.
DC, be careful. Titletown might get the Zoom link and jump in. And
I hope so. I hope so. I could use a few extra bucks in my pocket to get some more hot dogs on Sunday. So I don't know. Well, man, Gillen, you're a cash game player. Where are you looking on this slate at pitch? Are you paying up for these guys?
I mean, so I looked at the slate, right? So far I put in the top end guys. I wanted to talk with you a little bit about it. I will say one thing that I think, and JT brought up in one of his Bang Bang videos, and he happened to, jump back and join us. He had a false alarm. But the humidor, right? That's been a thing in some of these stadiums. And I've definitely been thinking about that more and more. I was talking to my buddy today. He's a huge Mets fan. He goes, why are there no runs there? It's well, there's a humidor there, right, JT? I mean, some of these parks, there's a nice little advantage for pitchers. And the more I talk about it with you, I like the idea of going to a Gilbert. I like the idea of the Gibson because of the park that they're in. And with all the hot weather games, right, starting to come up here, I think targeting these games that have humidors could make some sense. JT, is that kind of your thought process here going into the summer months?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. We've seen, I think, in particular this year, in St. Louis in Busch Stadium, right? We've seen a place where it was maybe league average or just a little bit below be one of the worst stadiums for runs, right? We learned they have a humidor this year. We know that Citi Field has had it. In addition to a humidor in Citi Field, they also have almost the worst offense in Major League Baseball, which is why I like a guy like Jordan Montgomery tonight, because especially with that bullpen floundering, Aaron Boone will lean on Jordan Montgomery. He'll let him go into the 7th inning, right? And definitely T-Mobile in Seattle is a humidor park. So I think you can look at those types of stadiums. They might give you a little bit better advantage in those, moderate matchups. And I think that's what this is really for both teams. Earlier in the season, this was a great matchup for both Gibson and Gilbert. Now, I think it's a league average matchup for each of these guys. And I think I'm not too interested in Seattle. I do believe that this is a matchup that is winnable for Gibson. And again, I'm not going to completely say absolutely not on Gilbert. I just think that the Rangers offense here, there's some plays that I like. So in terms of other plays, look, I wish that Max Scherzer wasn't going to be 48% owned, because I wouldn't mind taking a shot on his talent against the Dodgers. He seems, I guess, just as little as DeGrom has been affected by any of the sticky stuff or the changes. Scherzer really hasn't been affected all that much either, right? A couple of pretty good performances last 2 games, but at that high ownership, and I think there's a reason why he's that highly owned. It's because people look at this slate and they say, who do I want to play? I don't know who I want to play. People probably don't want to play Lance Lynn. I don't want to play Lance Lynn. So I think that's the reason for it.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. The one thing about Scherzer is I don't love the matchup right against the Dodgers. And then Lynn, it's like, well, I love the matchup against Detroit. Maybe I don't love it, right? Because they're definitely hitting better. But I think Lynn is a guy that you'd think, hey, Detroit, there's enough strikeouts there where he can just get the job done. But he's also struggled. That's been the problem. That's the concern with rostering him. And if he busts at 9.7, that just gets me really worried. Now, I was going to pull up the salaries real quick to kind of discuss that, because I think that dictates a lot with this slate. DC, we kind of talked about it pre-show a little bit, and it's worth mentioning these course prices on DraftKings, right? And I think that's going to help people pay up at pitching more than you would think. Typically, you got Tyler O'Neill batting 4th at 4.1K. Ramil Tapia at 4.4K. He's the first hitter, right? 4.4 only. Hampson at 4K. Carlson batting 1st at 3.9, right? DeJong is at 3.4. I know he's more towards the bottom of the order, but I just think there's some really nice cheap price tags on DraftKings specifically. Even Paul Goldschmidt, 4.8. He should probably be 5.5 in this matchup against Chichi Gonzalez. So I think that's going to cause more people to pay up and feel like they're just grabbing safety. With a guy like Max Scherzer, they're going to look at their lineups and say, hey, I can jam in maybe one top-end arm and one bottom-end arm and getting Coors Field as well. And I think that's the strategy you're really going to see today, DC.
Yeah, and listen, I'm not going to fault anyone for rostering Max Scherzer, right? I'm just saying, I honestly believe Gibson and Gilbert can match Max tonight. And I'm sitting here playing with DraftKings lineups as you're talking, Travis, and listen, you can full stack Coors Field with Gilbert and Gibson. You could probably do it with Max, but you're taking a little bit of the lesser plays, right? You're taking a DeJong over a Trevor Story. So the way I want to go, I want to stack this game with Gilbert and Gibson with the very best players from the game itself. And I think those guys could easily compete to be the top pitchers on the slate, and live or die with Coors Field. Or you want to go to Seattle, you want to get a Jose Altuve. I mean, dude hits a home run every game, right, and gets a good matchup tonight. So I understand there are value plays, of course, right? Like there's always going to be on a 14-game slate, but for the most part, those guys are value plays for a reason. They're not in the best spots, right? You are taking a hit at those hitting positions, going from a Nolan Arenado to a cheap third baseman. Like that's a significant hit, especially in your upside. So that's the way I'm rolling. I don't know how much I can say more about Gilbert and Gibson. I truly believe they'll pitch well. We'll see. But yeah, I get it. Getting one of the studs going lower end, I do think, like you said, that'll likely be a popular strategy. I get why. On this particular slate, we got 2 pretty good cheap pitching options, or really good and somewhat cheap pitching options. And I do think that's the the best way to go. That's just how I see it.
All right, DC, we know your top 2 pitchers. Give us your top pitcher, like in the top end tier, right? Like if you had to pay up, let's say I told you, DC, we're doing a lineup and you have to pay up for one of your pitchers. Which guy would it be if I forced you to?
It's close. I think I would go Lynn over Scherzer because the matchup's so much better, but it's close between those two. It'd be one of those two. And then Urias would be 3.
All right, JT, I'm going to go to you, and I want to get your top end arms, but I have to address a question in the chat because these are the type of questions that you love. These are the type of things you love to debate in the Discord. We got Sean V saying, Chi homers allowed, 10 on the road and 2 in Coors. Can you explain to me a little bit about that? Because I know this is a topic you love to discuss.
I mean, it's hard to suggest that home road splits matter for a pitcher like Chichi Gonzalez. You know, I mean, his numbers are so bad across the board. He's had a couple of good games. He's gone into San Diego and pitched decently. I don't know what I'm doing with that game. I have to be honest, because on the surface, right? And DC, you know, give me your point of view on this. On the surface, those two teams should be 50% owned, right? I mean, just looking at the matchup, looking at the game environment, and you know, then it just feels like one of those nights where there could be another team out there that's going to score 13 or 14 runs, right? I mean, it's just I don't know. I mean, St. Louis is priced up to a point where DraftKings finally did price up a visiting team. They haven't really been doing that all that much. Finally, at the end of the Pittsburgh series, they started to get a little pricey. But as far as Chichi Gonzalez, I can't imagine rostering him. So I have no belief that he's going to do anything of note against a lineup. And one other thing about Chichi, take home road away from it, right? Let's just look at the individual matchup. He's actually really bad against right-handed hitters, much worse against right-handed hitters than he is against left-handed hitters. And the bulk of the damage in this Cardinals lineup is going to come from right-handed hitters.
Yeah. A couple of things. You know, I totally get where you're coming from, where I can't remember if I said at the beginning of the show or on the podcast, but like you would still take the field, a field of teams over either St. Louis or Colorado, right? Despite the great hitting environment. Are they likely to be either of the top scoring teams on the slate? No. They still have a better chance of it, of course. And if once you factor in ownership, right? If you think the Cardinals are going to be 40% owned across the board, I don't think they'll be quite that high. You start to do the math and it makes maybe sense to go somewhere else. The problem is we don't know exactly how heavily owned they're going to be. And I do think people will go different directions, especially after they disappointed last night. So we'll see on that. What was your other? Oh yeah. The other point I was going to address, if there's a good weather game in Coors Field and you cannot possibly talk yourself into either starting pitcher, the offenses are probably going to go off, right? Like you can't possibly do it. Like there's just no way you could possibly play Chichi Gonzalez or Oviedo. Those are the games where I'm like, all right, I'm going to Coors. Cause like, okay, if John Gray or Herman Marquez is on the mound, it's like, they at least have a chance, right? They could pitch a good game. But these guys, I don't know. Even Adam Wainwright last night, right? I was still kind of on the Rockies, but like he's a very good pitcher. And, a very good pitcher can deliver even in adverse circumstances. So I just don't see it for either of these guys here.
And I'll add on to that point, because I think, and this is a common mistake that we see where people will say, so-and-so has been really good or so-and-so has been really bad, right? 2 homers at home is a lot better than his actual skill set, right? So at some point, that's gonna neutralize, right? At some point, he's gonna regress.
I don't think Chichi Gonzalez is the guy that has figured out Coors Field.
No. So I get it. It's always fun to throw out stats, right? You can interpret them any number of different ways. I don't think that I can find a stat that would say the Cardinals aren't a good play tonight, regardless of the result. If they put up 3 runs tonight, or if they put up 15, the matchup, the environment, they're in my pool. They're in my pool of teams. They may not even be my favorite, because we'll get to a couple of spots later on, but you just have to consider them. And you have to consider the Rockies against Johan Oviedo, who just hasn't looked. Again, a lot of these teams we're seeing with the injuries, with the inefficiencies of pitchers at the major league level, pitchers are getting called up well before they're ready to pitch in the major leagues. And I think Johan Oviedo fits into that bucket.
All right, JT, just give me your top 3 pitchers, and then we'll move on and talk about those hitters. So hit me with them. JT?
I'm here.
I'm just making sure. I don't know. You checking your notes? I don't know what's going on over there.
I was responding to someone in chat. I'm trying to be responsive. I'm sorry. What was your question, sweet Travis?
All right, give me your top 3 pitchers on the slate.
You were about to call him Sweetheart, but you pivoted to Sweet
No,
Travis.
Sweet Travis. Top three. I think, look, I personally, I think this is a spot where I don't mind taking a shot on Max Scherzer. Max is a big game pitcher. I think he'll rise to this occasion. I'm concerned a little bit, as always, about the power in that Dodger lineup. But he's in the mix for me. I think Eduardo Rodriguez is in the mix for me. Kyle Gibson is in the mix for me, and Jordan Montgomery is in the mix for me so far.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the hitters. JT talked about that there's going to be some hitters that he likes on this slate, so I'm excited to find that out. I'm excited to find out if DC's got any pivots, even though he is going to Coors, and I'm sure he'll have at least one game stack because that's how you have to do it. DC, will you be playing Yadier Molina? Will you be playing Dom Nunez if he's in the lineup there for the Rockies? How are you handling the catcher position here?
Yeah, Yadier Molina seems like a really, really strong option here, of course. I'd pass on Dom Nunez. I'm just tired of playing this guy. You could put me in Coors Field, and I'm not going to be able to hit anyway. So I'm not playing him anymore. Salvador Perez, I think, is a really, really good option against J Happ. You guys know I love right-handed power against Happ. That's not going to change for as long as Happ's pitching, which wouldn't be surprised if it's not that much longer, to be honest. So Perez, I did list number 1. Molina is up there. I like Yasmani Grandal a little bit, assuming he's in the lineup. I think he is against Casey Mize. But yeah, it does kind of look like a spend position. I'll throw Max Stassi in the mix. He's been really good against lefties. He gets Aiken tonight. So yeah, a number of ways you can go. And I must have said Altuve was facing Aiken, which is obviously not true. So there you go.
All right, JT, are you stacking up those Coors catchers? Are you going to, let's say, Jason Castro, right? The Astros have been on fire. He would be a contrarian catcher to go to today. Or are you going to Salvador Perez against terrible J Happ and spend it up?
Yeah, I think that Salvi Perez has to top this list just with the power that J Happ allows to right-handed batters. I was surprised and very excited to hear DC mention Yasmani Grandal, because it almost seems to me like this could be a spot where we see some Casey Mize regression against a White Sox team that's actually been hitting really, really well of late. Even guys that they pulled in off of the street, like Brian Goodwin, seemingly hitting home runs every night. But Jake Rogers, all he does is hit a home run. If you want to pay down, Jake Rogers in a matchup against Lance Lynn, who's been giving up some power, and like I said, just looks lost of late. Yan Gomes in a matchup against Julio Urias. Urias coming off a really good game against Chicago, but now going on the road against the Nats, who've just been pounding left-handed pitching. And then a one-off for the Mets. There's probably 2 guys on the Mets that I would consider as one-offs. And one of those guys is James McCann. Really good against left-handed pitching. Don't think I'll go there myself, but he's got to be in the pool.
All right, let's move on and talk about the first baseman. DC, obviously, Paul Goldschmidt. He's one of the biggest, chalkiest options on the slate. Who are some of the pivots here? I think G-Man Choi is not a bad pivot for cheaper. Tampa Bay is, I think, a little bit of a sneaky stack today that I think you can get some exposure to. What are you doing here at first base, DC?
Yeah, Goldschmidt and Crone, both in that Coors game, I think look good. I would assume Goldschmidt at least doubles up CJ Crone in terms of ownership at the same price point. So if you want to make that pivot, I think that's fine. Freddie Freeman, the Braves are interesting tonight against Lopez. They have crushed Lopez in the past. I actually have a lot of respect for Lopez as a pitcher, but the Braves have had his number. I think they just faced him in Miami 3 starts ago for Lopez and, got to him. Negative DraftKings points for Lopez there. And now they're in Atlanta. So I do like Freeman and the Braves. a leverage one-off. I kind of like the Dodgers lefties, Max Muncy, and specifically Cody Bellinger against Scherzer. If you want to take a shot at a home run, I think both guys have, frankly, a pretty good shot. And then I'll throw in Yuli Gurriel. I do like the Astros a lot going up against Sam Hentges for the Cleveland Indians. But yeah, for the most part, it does look like a spend position. Couple cheaper guys. I should have mentioned Jesus Aguilar at catcher for the Marlins against Smiley. He's 2.7K. He's got power and actually a little bit of speed too. You can run on Smiley. And then, Jesus Aguilar, and then Jorge Lopez was or not Jorge Lopez. Why am I forgetting his name?
Alfaro. I think. Are you okay? You having a stroke, buddy?
Jorge Alfaro. Jorge Alfaro. Yeah, I get those names mixed up. But those two Marlins guys, I think, look like pretty good plays.
Well, DC, don't have a stroke on us and tell
Mom. Yeah, I'll try to keep that off of air when that happens.
Tell Mom real quick. It's a Friday night, and Gavin Sheets is in the 2-hole, so we got to get the good pizza bagels tonight, right? None of that off-brand stuff. So yeah. Gavin Sheets is in the 2-hole at 2.5K. DC, can you punt with him here against Casey Mize?
Clearly, yeah. I'm a kind of a believer in Gavin Sheets at this point. We've been riding him a little bit over at RPS, and yeah, looks like a good play.
All right, JT Hayes, what are we doing here at first base? Are you spending up for Paul Goldschmidt, or are you spending down for our boy Gavin Sheets?
Yeah, I think both are in play. I actually think first base is probably the deepest position tonight outside of outfield, obviously, but I think there's a number of ways you could go here. DC talked about Jesus Aguilar. Man, Garrett Cooper in that lineup is a pretty big addition for the Miami Marlins. And I think, you see the prices on the Braves. I'm not going to roster Pablo Lopez. I probably won't have any Braves, but the prices on these Marlins for a matchup against Drew Smiley, who is going to go one of two ways, right? He's going to have that decent floor game, or he's going to give up a bunch of bombs. And I can see him giving up a bunch of bombs against this offense tonight. So I like Aguilar and Cooper there. Yuli's out of the order. I've got Sheets down on my sheet, so to speak, if you will. Goldschmidt definitely in play in this matchup. And then I kind of like the Royals a bit here. So I do have Carlos Santana listed. I hate rostering Carlos Santana, but I cannot deny that this is a good matchup for him. And Joey Votto and Nate Lowe round out the guys that I would consider.
All right, let's move on over to the second base position, and we got Brandon Lau at the top. He's someone I'm definitely looking at, and Ryan McMahon, if you're going to go to Coors bat, he is definitely one to consider. So there's some pretty good spend ups. Then you got another Coors guy, right? A nice little salary saver in Garrett Hampson in the 2-hole, and we know that Cardinals bullpen is not that good, DC. So is this a spot where you get some Coors exposure at the second base position?
Yeah, I'm going to Coors here. You got Edman, Hampson, like you mentioned. Just a bunch of ways to go. And a brief clarification for those of you who were like me, searching for Sheets in the first base pool. He is outfield eligibility only on DraftKings. So save you a little bit of time there. But yeah, Rogers, Hampson, Edman, all in Coors Field look like great plays. And then, of course, Jose Altuve for me is above all those guys. He's just a far superior hitter. I know the environment's better for the Coors Field guys, but give me Jose Altuve over the Coors Field guys. If you've got the salary to get there, it's tough at 5,800. Man, Ozzy Albies, this dude is just insane right now. Even had a pretty good game against Jacob deGrom, right? Got a stolen base, 12 fantasy points. He's just completely locked in. I'm a believer in that. So yeah, I'll take some Ozzy Albies for sure. Mentioned Max Muncy already as a super contrarian but good leverage play. Bunch of ways you can go, but my preference is Coors Field or Jose Altuve.
All right, JT, is it Jose Altuve or is it the Coors Field guys or is it someone else at second base? How are you handling this position here?
Yeah, definitely Altuve in play. Like I mentioned, the Royals. I like Whit Merrifield here in this matchup. You can run on J-Hap as well. I've got Altuve, and it's interesting because the Rays are calling up Luis Patino to start this game. He probably has a ceiling of 4 innings, and it looks like they're another team where they're having some trouble in terms of their pitchers adjusting to the new rules. So I'm not all that opposed to playing a Marcus Semien here. Muncy, DC talked about Muncy, one of the hottest hitters in the league over the last week as well. And then if he's in the lineup, Luis Urias for Milwaukee, been hitting very well also.
All right, DC, I'll go over to you. We'll talk about the third base position. Actually, DC left us, so we can't talk too much about the third base position. We got to go over to JT and talk about it. And I'll start it off, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure that DC, what he's going to do, and he's ran back, so we can go right back to him.
Yeah.
I think DC is playing some Nolan Arenado today. I think he's got the money, right? He's pinching for pennies at the pitcher position, playing his guys, and he wants to spend somewhere, right? So let's spend on Nolan Arenado. It seems like not a bad idea against Chiche Gonzalez. Maybe I'm wrong and you're going somewhere else, but let me know what you're doing here at third base.
Man, I'm easy to read today, apparently. Yeah, I do like Nolan Arenado a ton. I think it would be hard not to. In this position, it's not a bad position, but, I don't think there's like any super standouts. To me, there's not a Jose Altuve type alternative at third base to Nolan Arenado. So I think he's fantastic. I do like Ryan McMahon as well. The Rockies have moved him down the order. I think he's hitting 7th, I believe, today, which is, I don't know, it's been pretty good, especially at home in Coors. I don't know what he did to deserve to get moved down behind some of these guys, especially against a right-handed pitcher, but that's the Rockies for you. So yeah, I'm not afraid of McMahon's batting order at all. Jose Ramirez, I like against Lance McCullers some. I bet you'll get him at super low ownership. You do get a bit of a discount. He's usually up closer to 6K, 5,200 today. I mean, my next couple third basemen are in Oakland, right? Where it's not really a place we want to go for hitting necessarily Rafael Devers and Matt Chapman. So I got to be honest, I don't love this position today, which makes me just kind of want to, play Nolan Arenado or play Ryan McMahon. I'll throw in one more guy that will be, I believe, extremely low owned, John Birdie for the Miami Marlins, hitting 8th, which obviously is not ideal. But he's been really, really good recently. 2 stolen bases in each of the last 2 games. He's a high stolen base guy. And Drew Smyly, one of the easiest guys to run on in the league. So John Birdie at 3,300. Could see him with 2 or 3 stolen bases tonight if things break right. So he's a kind of a sneaky option there.
All right, JT, I'll go over to you. 2 more guys that were not mentioned at third base that I think are really good plays. It just depends. Do you want to spend for these guys, right? Anthony Rendon at 4.7. He's a bit pricey, but I think against a guy like Aiken and in that ballpark, it's still fine, right? He can get the job done. He can easily bang one out. And then Eugenio Suarez, right, against Mills. The Reds have a decent implied total. I don't think we've talked enough about the Reds, and I think they're a pretty good play. I mean, we're looking for some contrarian offenses off of Coors Field, right? And yesterday I was trying to find a contrarian offense. I said, let me just go to Great American Small Park where, the long ball gets hit a ton, right? So I think Suarez is a really strong value play at 4-0, JT.
Yeah, I think Suarez is in play. I agree. It's probably Arenado and Devers at the top for me. Jose Ramirez definitely an option. And then I'm surprised DC didn't mention this guy. Actually, I was taken aback. I almost fell off the chair here. Josh Donaldson, the bringer of rain, gets a good matchup against Brady Singer. It's a spot where it's actually going to be warm when the game starts, not where it's warm now. It's going to be in the mid-80s in Kansas City tonight. So I like Donaldson a little bit. I agree with DC too, though. I think this is a pretty thin position. You're kind of looking at some of those top end plays, and I like the Marlins as a whole tonight. So definitely Birdie's a guy with speed, and he showed a little bit of power as well. So if you wanted to pay down, put him in your Marlins stack. I think that's a good way to go.
Brief note on Donaldson and the rest of the Twins, frankly. Travis has banned me on the air from mentioning Twins players. I'm no longer allowed to do so. Someone else has to bring them up. And you have insinuated some very hurtful things about me, about an experience I had as a youth at a Twins game with their mascot that in Discord that was very, very hurtful. I had to hire a therapist to get over my experiences with TC Bear, the Twins mascot. So the Twins have traumatized me both on the show, in Discord, and in real life. So yeah, I have moved on.
I found the old police report, DC. I'm sorry. I thought it was something that people would want to know, but
I don't know why they had to be so graphic in their description, but
I didn't hear much of this, but I will say this, DC, I feel like since we haven't talked about the Twins, they haven't burned us, right? I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen them gone on in a long time, right? Like, when is the last time the Twins have burned you? I can't remember. DC.
I mean, the other night with Bailey Ober.
I guess.
Yeah, for that night, he was okay. He was okay compared to his salary for some of those other guys.
That's true.
He was better than Ohtani.
Oh, yes, he was. Yes, he was. The guy I paired him with.
That definitely was a bit rough. DC, I want to go back to you. We got 468 watching, and you've told me like I need to be a little harsher on the people, right? With the plays.
Not harsh, just optimistic, encouraging about the people. Give us the light. It's not that hard.
Here's my problem, DC. I was very encouraging at the top. You know what I said? I said, we got 300 in here. We already have 100. Like, that's great. I get encouraging, and what do I get? I get spat on. And we are at 171 likes. We've only done 70 since the start of the show, basically. The loyal hit us up, and then we're at 171 with 472 watching. I mean, what are we supposed to do here, DC?
We don't have that much time on the show. We're pushing on maybe 10 minutes left. I know you like to go a little bit long, man, going typically on your shows, but we got to get 225 to give out the plays of the day because I got a couple good ones.
You heard it, 225 to get the plays of the day. So get those going now. You can get my play, you get DC's, you get JT Hayes. So we want to do that for you guys, right? We're going to talk outfielders, we'll talk stacks, and then we're going to make that decision on how to handle it. So we have faith in you guys, though. DC wants me to be encouraging and kind, but I'm trying my best here. If not, we're going to withhold the plays and be very hurtful, as JT says. But JT, move us on over to the outfield. Let's start over there. And we already talked about all the Coors guys, right? If you want to touch on them, go ahead. But there's a lot of value outfielders. If you want to play a Coors outfielder, go ahead. No one's going to say it's a bad idea. But talk about some of the other outfielders.
I like the new strategy of skipping shortstop today. Let's.
Oh, did I skip shortstop? I actually did skip shortstop, but that's because I was so excited to withhold the plays.
Yeah,
hold the holding. So there we go.
Way too excited for the harsh punishment, and you couldn't even get through all the positions.
Well, I was very hurt. I mean, we had 100 to start off.
Not as excited as TC Bear was, but pretty excited.
All right, we'll move on over to shortstop. We'll talk Trevor Story, obviously at 5.8K. You have to like him. He's definitely worth spending on, or you can go all the way down. Another Coors guy, Paul DeJong. But there are pivots, right? I mean, I would not ignore Carlos Correa against the lefty in the 3-hole at 5.2K. And the Astros, they're going to be kind of contrarian today because it's a big slate. I wouldn't worry about their ownership. DC, which way are you going here?
Yeah, I have Story number 1. I have DeJong number 3. And then I have the other guy you mentioned, Carlos Correa, right between them, sandwich at number 2. So Story, Correa, DeJong for me. I think it kind of falls off after that. Normally a fantastic position. And, if you want to pay for a Bo Bichette or a Xander Bogaerts, it's fine. They're just not in the best spots tonight. Brendan Rodgers, of course, in Coors as well. I did list Jorge Polanco at 4,300. I do like that Twins team once again a little bit tonight. And then Brandon Crawford, a daily mention for me on this show. I mean, dude's hitting a lot of home runs. And he's never owned. And I know Zach Gallen's a pretty good pitcher, but still right-handed. Crawford just getting it done slate after slate. So I do like him quite a bit too.
All right, JT, I forgot to mention one more shortstop that I think is a pretty good one. Mr. Wander Franco. He is a little pricey, 4.6, but it might not be enough, right? I think these Rays are kind of sneaky tonight. So what do you think of Franco here at shortstop and some other options?
I'll be honest. I don't have a ton of interest in the Rays. But I would say the one guy that I don't think I heard mentioned was Miguel Rojas for the Marlins.
Yeah,
Other
like
than that, I agree with these other plays. Crawford on my list. And you need to go all the way down, a guy who's surprisingly been hitting very well over the last week, Ramon Urias for Baltimore in a winnable matchup against Griffin Canning, who may have been dipping his hand into the jar of sticky sweets.
He definitely is in that camp. I think that I'm not scared of Griffin Canning tonight, so Don't hate that. I think that's definitely worth it. Now we can move on to outfield, DC, or we're okay to go there. I'm finally back on track. We got the show moving. The likes are moving too, DC. The demands are being met. I mean, things are good over here. So let's move on. Let's talk about the outfielders. What I said, DC, don't talk about every Coors outfielder. Maybe talk about your favorite. We know they're good plays. Give us the pivots. Give us the guys that are going yard. Maybe Joey Gallo is going to hit another one out tonight.
Yeah, I didn't list Joey Gallo in the playbook just because he's going up against my guy, Logan Gilbert, but I do think he's a good play. I actually listed the number 1 outfielder as a non-Coors Field participant, Jesse Winker for the Reds against Alec Mills in Cincinnati. He's faced a bunch of lefties recently and has had some batted ball luck, but I think Jesse Winker, end of the season, you're going to see a 315 hitter with 40 home runs. I think he's that type of talent. So give me Jesse Winker at home in a really good matchup. Other pivots, Ronald Acuna. Again, I do like the Braves quite a bit against Pablo Lopez just because they've smashed him so hard. And Lopez's actual best pitch is a changeup, which isn't quite as effective right versus righty. So I think Acuna, I don't think many people will be willing to pay for him. At this point, Shohei Ohtani always has to be on the list each and every slate, almost regardless of matchup, even against a lefty, especially one that's not that great anyway. So he's on there. And then one play that I really like, might make the chorus tonight. We'll see. Starling Marte for the Miami Marlins has been hitting very well. Good history against lefties, up against Drew Smyly. And then the big thing here is the running matchup for Starling Marte. Smyly, one of the very worst at holding runners. William Contreras, not that great at throwing him out. And Starling Marte has 12 stolen bases on the year already, and he missed significant time too. So I feel pretty confident he will be off to the races if he gets a chance, which I think there's a pretty good chance he might against Drew Smyly. And then throw in one more, Cody Bellinger. I mentioned him a little bit with Max Muncy. I think he's perhaps the best one-off at outfield against Max Scherzer if you're not on Max. Cody looks like he's kind of back to his MVP type self. I mean, 3,600, right? Like the tough matchup against Scherzer is being accounted for in the price, but you still don't see players, DFS players, roster a guy like Cody Bellinger just because they see Max Scherzer, even with the discount. So I think Bellinger just very, very much in play at 3,600 there.
Great call there with Bellinger. We got Travis in the chat saying he might crack a brew open during this show. It's so legit. The takes are fire. So JT, is that approved? I think you want to go crack a brew right now, don't you, JT?
Yes.
So get that brew cracked while JT fires off all the outfielders here. And JT, what is the brew of choice on the 4th of July, right? The people got to know what drink is JT going to? What is the main drink?
Sweet Travis, I'm glad you asked. It's a tasty Coors Light. Tasty Coors Light. That is the brew of choice over the holiday weekend. That's what we're going to be drinking. And I hope you have some on Narrative Street. It's good to see all your little signs up. Looks like you've outfitted that nice little closet that they've got you kept in pretty nicely.
Yeah, I mean, I was sick of having being held by gunpoint. I was waiting for Jake Bauer to come save me. He never was, obviously, as we talked about on that one show. You didn't save me. I just had to set it up. I just had to get the job done, JT.
Jake Bauer won't save you. Trevor Bauer might, but he's going to deliver some punishment as well. So,
oh, gosh. Oh, too good. JT, give us the outfit before we get too off the rails here.
So DC mentioned Starling Marte, Adam Duvall has to be in the pool. And actually, I'm toying with a lineup here: Duvall, Marte, Winker, or Duvall, Winker, Joey Gallo. I mean, that sounds like a pretty filthy outfield capable of like 6 or 7 home runs tonight. So,
JT, we're on the same page today. You'd love to see that.
Yeah. I do have Mookie Betts written down. Scherzer this year been a little bit more, giving up a little more power to the right side than the left side. Juan Soto, interesting matchup here. Lefty. Urias is actually getting hit, giving up more power to the left side. So I think this is a decent matchup for Juan Soto. I actually like Max Kepler tonight in this matchup against Brady Singer. Tyler O'Neill, I mean, hitting cleanup in Coors Field. This guy's been on fire.
Just play Tyler O'Neill tonight, to be honest. I thought I was banned from mentioning him, but yeah, play him.
Yeah, Tyler O'Neill.
No, not banned at all. We all know he's a great play. Okay. Definitely play Tyler O'Neill. He's up there on the list. You'll see him on the cash chart, I'm sure. Awesome play today.
Yeah.
There you go. I don't mind Ryan Mountcastle in that matchup in Los Angeles or in Anaheim. Mike Yastrzemski hit a home run last night in his first game back. I know Gallen's a tough out there, but I don't mind Yaz. And then I hate to say it, I like in a couple of lineups, I'm going to have just alongside of Joey Gallo, his younger brother, Adolis Garcia, because once you get past Gilbert, I think there's some winnable matchups there in that Seattle bullpen.
All right, all we got left are the stacks, right? And we still got some work to do. Again, DC, when I get nice, they just stop, right? So we got to get mean again, I guess. Again, 9 more. That's all we need. But DC, give us our stacks. Who are you on besides Coors Field? Or obviously your Coors is your number 1, but give us some other options too.
Yeah, Cardinals, Rockies, 1 and 2 for me in that order. Beyond that, I've got the Astros 3rd. I might get them a little bit lower owned. Jordan Alvarez on the paternity list, so be careful not to play him, but otherwise a strong lineup. I like the Braves. I'll buy into the big success they've had against Pablo Lopez. we'll see if it continues, but I think there's a good chance it might. And then I do like both sides of the Royals and Twins game. Pretty good hitting weather in Kansas City. I love stacking righty power against Hap. And I'm just not a huge believer in Singer, and you can get the Twins pretty cheap prices for the most part. And also I think pretty low owned. So good combination there.
All right, JT, we have a chatter. He's just causing problems. All he does is keep talking about David Dahl in the chat. So comment on David Dahl at 2K in the 5-hole. Any interest in him so we can get K. Falik to be happy and just stop talking about David Dahl?
Sweet K. Falik. David Dahl. So he says David Dahl is 2K, which, I mean, that's tempting. It's tempting.
So it seems like an appropriate price point for him. I'll say.
Well, see, that's the thing, though. Of the outfielders on Texas, I would rank Dahl 4th, and I think they're only rostering 3. So,
what about of all the outfielders on the slate, he would rank about last for me too. So, seems fair.
As the last guy, I guess I don't know. There was a time when I think it was appropriate to get excited about David Dahl. I don't know if that time is with us anymore. Right? I mean, he hasn't looked the same. He got hot for like a couple of games about a month ago. Then he got hurt. This is his first game back. I don't know.
I mean, this dude could barely hit in Coors Field, so I don't know.
Yeah. A little bit of a thin play, but Kevin can come in and have these off the wall plays that work out. So
too nice.
Yeah. So you never know.
All right. Well, I just wanted to get that off of, K. Falik's chest and mine, the frustration of having to see it over and over, K. Falik. So now I'm going to spam you if you're on the premium show about some play, and you can deal with that. But JT, I want your stacks, right? You said at the start of the show, you said to me, oh, I got some sneaky bats today. So who are the sneaky stacks on this slate?
Yeah, I tend to like the Coors definitely in play. If you're not going to stack up Coors, at least do yourself a favor and look to the leadoff batter or the cleanup batters as one-offs. The math on these type of slates just supports that they're in such good spots, especially when they're at like 4K like O'Neill is. But I like the Royals, I like the Marlins, and I like the Nationals a little bit, a couple of those guys. And then out west, I have some interest in the Baltimore Orioles.
All right. Interest in the Baltimore Orioles. I like that one. That's one I don't think I was on as much early on in the day. And I liked kind of going against Griffin Canning yesterday. So I should like it a little bit today, even though it is the Orioles. DC, I'm going to ask you one question, and we need to get 2 more likes. And then if not, I'm getting it out of here. I'm giving him one last chance. What about Akil Baddoo? Now, he asked me that, but you are the Akil Baddoo guy, right? So I figured I'd ask you, what do you think of him as a one-off?
I like it a lot. I just don't necessarily need the savings at outfield. So I'm going to play a Baddoo over a Tyler O'Neill or a Dylan Carlson. But I do like Baddoo, 3,200 against Lance Lynn. Loving what I'm seeing from him. So, yeah, I do like the play.
All right. JT, give me your final thoughts on this slate, and then we're probably going to get on out of here.
Yeah, always interesting on the Friday night, 14-game slates. Ownership probably going to be spread out outside of Coors. So I think if you're multi-entering, you want to get pieces of that game. But I think the full stack route I'm going to take is with some of these lower owned stacks, like that game in Kansas City. I like the Marlins, and I like the game in Anaheim as well.
DC, not so fast, my friend. We got over 227. So now we got to get out the plays, and I want to hear your plays. I'm excited to hear your plays because you said you got some good ones today. So I'm holding you on here for like 2 or 3 more minutes. So pull up the graphic. Let's get the play up. DC, give me your play of the day.
2 pitchers today, and they're in the same game. I've mentioned them several times. Kyle Gibson, Logan Gilbert. I'll go a little bolder. Say these 2 are the SP1 and the SP2. I don't know in which order, but these are the guy you want. These are the guys you want on your lineup tonight. Logan Gilbert, Kyle Gibson out in Seattle.
All right. What about hitters, DC? You got any hitters for us, or just the pitchers only?
Nope. Pitchers only today.
All right. Pitchers only for DC. I'll give you mine. I like the Reds a little bit. I like that park. I think Alec Mills is terrible. And Jesse Winker, a guy that if you spend up on, he can definitely hit one out in that small little ballpark. So give me Jesse Winker as my play of the day. But now we're hopping on, we're hopping on the plane, and we're going to go to the Eiffel Tower play of the day from Mr. JT Hayes. Hit us with it. Who is your play of the day?
Yeah, France is in the air, and the play is not Ty France, but it is Adam Duvall. I think Adam Duvall is in a really good spot. We've seen him have massive upside, including stolen base upside. DC talked about how badly Drew Smiley holds runners on. And whether it's Smith or Contrarian behind the plate, I think there's an opportunity there to take advantage. So give me Adam Duvall.
All right, well, that will wrap it up for us, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. Be sure to check out coming up next. We got BigT, we got JSU, we got Holden. They'll be breaking everything down on the premium show. All you got to do is sign up at Run Pure Sports to be able to access that. So check that out. It's a great time, and they'll be giving you all of the MLB DFS winners tonight. But we're going to wrap it up for DC, for JT Hayes, and for Sweet Travis. We'll see you guys later.